There's a lot of activity for freight and passenger rail happening. And thanks to Shane and Daniel, that is reflected in the agenda today and tomorrow and is packed with sessions to address the critical issues that we all face to ensure that goods and people move safely and efficiently on rail infrastructure. You know, I find these meetings valuable when I talk to new staff. You know, you talk about conferences and, you know, some conferences you go to because of the sessions, some conferences you go to for the connections, but this is one of those conferences that's unique that you get both. And so I find it extremely valuable, and I thank all of you for attending.
We need your help. Your experience, the experience of your teams, what works, what doesn't work, that's what we're going to be asking for, your feedback. Equally important is ensuring we are amplifying this message. The value of communication and messaging and getting good policy passed into law cannot be overstated. We need your help in continuing to convey to decision makers, both lawmakers and the public, the value of investing in our nation's infrastructure. And that state DOTs have proven for decades that they are excellent stewards of federal dollars and have knowledge, expertise, and the structure in place to get dollars invested in projects quickly to positively impact America's communities.
Surface transportation reauth, again, you know, we are actually waiting to see what happens in the House and Senate. Again, we have put together a little proposal of ours with things that we would like to see in it. You know, I mean, me and my colleague Kyle Fields, he came from Senate Commerce, I came from House Transportation Infrastructure. We talked to our colleagues a good bit and try to suss out what's going on. I can't speak for them, but it sounds like they are moving forward. I know my previous boss, Chairman Sam Graves, got his extension to be chairman of T&I for one more term, specifically for this reason. And so, you know, they're firing on all cylinders. And, you know, some of the suggestions we've had for grants, for Amtrak reforms, you know, for everything from, you know, consolidating key grants to, you know, making it easier to, you know, change a baby's diaper on a train, which, you know, we struggled over on that for our thing. I mean, it's crazy how even the littlest stuff takes the longest. We'll hopefully make it in there.
You are our sort of key number one partner, and for us to be here with our team, our project managers, you know, want to be here to interact, to try to get some work done, to reconnect with folks. We have our project development folks, including our environmental team, our planners, our engineers, the grant managers, so really all of the folks that work across our development arm. And then we have some safety folks here as well to jump in on grade crossing issues and so forth. So we're, again, very excited to be here.
I've been around to realize that our portfolio has simply changed. Really since 2017, through the FAST Act, our portfolio started to kind of steadily increase of grant-funded projects. And then with the transformational IIJA, we got a huge onslaught of funding. The portfolio has grown. I can't say our pace of adjusting our business processes to deliver those projects has kept up pace. We simply haven't made those strides in our project delivery and grant management processes. So.
The main thing I want to leave you here with today is that the BPI function is fully focused on ensuring the feedback received from RRD is used to drive responsive and tangible change. We are and will continue to listen and consolidate feedback. We are developing a communications approach that will include continuous feedback and report out to you on our progress. We will guide the development of solutions, ensure that we prioritize high-impact BPI's priorities first. We will implement the changes identified and then measure the effectiveness and identify additional areas of improvement to tackle.
We are currently working on a lot of efforts to modernize our workflows, and as a result, we are seeing real progress on obligations. Since May of last year, we have already exceeded the total number of grants obligated in all of 2024. For our rail crossing elimination program specifically, we have obligated 60% of the 123 grants announced last January. In the last 2 months alone, we have obligated over 70 grants. With the upcoming National Rail Program selections, we know that we need to continue to build on this trajectory. We still have lots of improvements to make. We're looking forward to using this data to continue to improve our internal processes and ultimately the customer service to our recipients.
We had certainly a number of executive orders that were issued under the new administration focused on things that impact the environmental review process. Very notably, there was a big sea change for us in the environmental review process with the elimination of the CEQ regulations and a really key important Supreme Court ruling that affects environmental review. So for all of that, we have certainly recognized and as identified by our Deputy Administrator Feely, that we are taking really an aggressive approach to make sure that our regulations meet the moment and that our regulations kind of match the regulatory environment we are working in now today.
So rather than having what we've had in the past, which is a lot of paper passing, we're working towards something that will help us really streamline reviews, in particular CEs, where we can get the information we need very quickly, get it documented quickly, and get the approvals quickly. So that would be a pretty big shift from how we've done it in the past to an electronic system for that. But I think it's time to sort of move into 2026 and take advantage of some of the technology we have. And yeah, I'm hoping that we'll be able to announce that later this year.
We are also supporting NEPA assignment and delegations. So if you guys were here in 2024, you probably remember I was quite the cheerleader for NEPA assignment at the time. I still am a cheerleader for NEPA assignment. But we're having like a whole of USDOT support behind that. Secretary Duffy sent a letter out to all the governors suggesting that they consider NEPA assignment. So it is a fantastic tool for states to, what I like to say, take control of your own destiny. Many states have significant funding in rail that's really ramped up over the past decade. And this is a tool that can give you more control over the process. We are actively working on improving the process, but this is another tool in the toolbox.
Over the last couple decades, we hear how the grade crossing accidents are going down. They're going down. Then we hit a plateau. Really, that trend has started to go the other way. The last full year of data we have is from 2024. We won't have 2025 numbers in until early March. But if you plot a trend line on that, let Excel plot a trend line on that, it's an upward trend. Through October, November, we were ahead of pace of 2024. So we don't know where we're going to end up yet for 2025 until March, but the trend line is going up as far as accidents go. So it's not even we've hit a plateau anymore. We're starting to go back the wrong direction on accidents.
Pedestrians are a key, and when there are sidewalks present, as an example, a lot of times we forget about equipping those sidewalk gates with ped gates. And it's an oversight. It happens sometimes at diagnostic reviews, but we see that ped gates at existing sidewalks there at crossings where there are road gates present is really important. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in detail, but just want to really emphasize the importance of pedestrian fatalities because they're skyrocketing, and we got to find a way to mitigate and ultimately eliminate those fatalities.
In 2024, 264 people were killed at rail crossings. 215 of those fatalities were attributed to trespassing. These numbers are for both public and private rail crossings. It's important to note that Section 130 funding is only eligible for public crossings. So the Section 130 funding gives states flexibility to eliminate crossing hazards. As you can see on this slide are some projects that can be funded under Section 130. The federal share for eligible Section 130 projects is 100%, and up to 8% of a state's apportionment can be used for data compilation and data analysis. In addition, the Section 130 program does allow for crossing closure incentives up to $100,000 to local agencies and allows for project funding that aims to reduce pedestrian fatalities and injuries from the trespassing at grade crossings.
So the things that we do for passenger rail is that we can investigate, recommend, and adjudicate on-time performance and preference issues. We can adjudicate access by Amtrak to host carrier facilities and services and determine, quote, reasonable terms and compensation. If there's a dispute. On state-supported routes, we can adjudicate Amtrak state cost allocation. We can adjudicate disputes pertaining to the NEC. And we can regulate non-Amtrak provision of interstate passenger rail facilities and services.
2025 in all was just a great year for Amtrak. And I do want to start, we always start by saying safety is our number one priority, and nothing at Amtrak is more important than that, than protecting the well-being of our employees, of our customers, and everyone around us. And so we're very excited that in 2025, we were able to complete our third straight year without an NTSB accident. And it takes all 20,000 of our employees across the country to be able to achieve that milestone, and it is definitely not one that we take for granted either.
I get to be involved in quite a diverse group of things that are happening all across the network. I think the biggest and most exciting one that's upcoming, hopefully some of you travelled by train to get here from the north, Portal North Bridge cutover starts this weekend. We were on a go live or call this afternoon. Everything's going to plan. There's no denying it's going to be tough, but we feel like we're in a confident position to really push forward and deliver at this mega structure that you would have seen if you were travelling from the north. It's been a huge collaborative effort, so it's not Amtrak doing this in isolation. We've worked very closely with New Jersey Transit and a whole host of other invested partners to make sure that we get the bridge to where it needs to be in 4 weeks' time.
Last year, my team went through a major transformation and reorganization that has enabled us to focus on 3 key areas with greater emphasis. That's the product, the service standards, and the operational delivery. This allows us to do 4 things. Launch faster, launch those products or services faster, deliver them with consistency, equip our front line with the tools and the information that they need to do their job effectively, and measure those outcomes with data and customer feedback.
And, I think most people understand what it is that the association does in terms of, representing the short lines in front of Congress and in front of the administration, and then also partnering with organizations such as AASHTO and others, where we have, a collective interest for railroading, whether it's in passenger or freight. And so we look forward to continuing that relationship, especially with the states, since there is, the funding question about a lot of these rail grant programs that not only the states but at the national level that we rely on to make sure that the infrastructure continues to literally chug along as we look to connect rural communities to urban communities across the nation.
We're really about creating and advocating for competition in the intercity rail market, very much like we've seen in the commuter market over the last 2 decades plus, where companies like Herzog and Transdev and RATP-Dev and others have participated and hopefully have added to that market. AI Pro is made up of 4 main rail operators: Herzog Keolis, who operates MBTA and Virginia Railway Express; Transdev, who does work down in Florida on the maintenance away; and RAPT-Dev, which is a big international company that operates trains all over the world. Also, recently we've had Trenitalia join, and we had the infrastructure folks from Asia join. So we're building an organization, and like I said, we're all about creating competition.
We've got 364 million passenger trips in 19 states with 31 providers and a myriad of cities that are served through an increasingly regional rail approach by the nation's commuter railroads. Addressing that federal excess liability that you heard Greg mentioning, I've been involved with this, I'll call it discussion rather than fight or battle, okay, for well over 10 years. For a small system, this actually can prevent them from ever coming on board and starting a system up, because the cost of going out and buying that insurance is larger than the startup budget for almost any system that's out there.
So here's an example of one way one of our state programs in a DOT in New Jersey gets the rail safety message out. You know, they have much like many states, the signs above the expressways or the highways, depending on where you are and what you call those roadways. And they used our catchphrase, see tracks, think train, right? It was great. It was a great partnership and just an easy message to get out to all the motorists.
If you look at the first 11 months of data, which is public on the FRA website, you will see historic rates for both our employee accident and death rates will be the lowest in industry history. That is something we are very proud of, and we topped last year. 2024 was our lowest record ever before that. So we continue to improve on that, and we're very, very proud of that. Obviously, our employees are the backbone of our industry, and without them, we wouldn't be able to serve our customers. The other one I'd like to just flag is also lifetime record for lowest rates of derailment. Another thing we're really, really proud of. And so when we talk about reauthorization, which I'm going to quick go through what our priorities are, you will hear us talking a lot about safety and changes and improvements we made to continue to drive those safety outcomes. We would not have those if we weren't allowed to continue to operate and innovate in both sort of the technologies we use, but the operating ways we use.